Hey y'all, we're continuing our conversation about internal text editors. We talked a little bit about Vim in the previous lesson, and now we're going to talk about a different tool that's called Nano. Nano is a bit more user-friendly than Vim, has a little bit less of a steep learning curve, so it might be a better suited option for some people who are new to working in the command line. Now, if you remember, I did have a file in Vim called that we worked on it in Vim, we worked on it in VS Code a little bit, but it's called deleteme.txt. I'm going to go ahead and open that up just so we can see it and remember what we're working with. Right, again, remember I'll hit escape to exit out of, make sure I'm exited out of the insert mode, and then use my WQ colon to quit to make sure that I save any changes. Now, if I were to want to open this file in Nano, I'm going to do so in a very similar way, in the fact that I'm going to put the file path Nano and then the file path and then hit enter, and my file will be opened in Nano. This is sort of the home screen or home page of Nano. Unlike Vim, there aren't two different modes. We're just talking about you're sort of always in insert mode unless you're using some of the commands. Now, we do see that on the bottom we have all of these commands really laid out for us in a pretty effective way, so it's not entirely dependent on memorization where Vim is. But I want to go ahead and do some more modification to this file. I'm going to say this is the text that I added using Nano. And now you can see that, right, much like Vim, I've written this text in the text editor, but it has not actually been saved to the file or put into memory just yet. So that's what I'm going to want to do. Much like we used a W command for writing what's in the text editor to a file using Vim, we're going to use the write out command, which is Control O. We can see it down here in the bottom. And what that write out is just writing out whatever is in this text editor to the actual file on the hard drive. So to do that, this little caret character, right, represents the control key. So I'm going to hold control and hit the O button. And it says file name to write, right? This is saying, where do you want me to put it? What file do you want me to put this text input in? Since I opened a specific file that I was already working on, it autofills deleteme.txt in there. I hit enter to confirm, and I can see that I now have written out my file, and I can hit Control X and exit Nano. Now, if I go right back into Nano, and again, this is the second text I put in using Nano. Right, so now I've got this new text, and say I forget to save, and I just go to exit, and it's actually going to say save modified buffer. That's what you have changed in this file that hasn't been written to the file on the hard drive yet. It's asking me, do you want to save your work before you exit or not? And more often than not, you will want to save that work. So you can use Y as the keystroke. Again, it brings up a font, file name to rate, deleteme.txt. Go ahead and hit enter. And now the last thing I'll do is we'll check this file using Vim again. And we can see that all of the text that we put in using Nano is actually available, much like it is in Nano. So that's a brief introduction to a couple of internal text editors. Some people like to use these a lot or even exclusively, and they can be really powerful tools. But there is a requirement that you understand the basics of how these work, just so you are able to actually use these tools effectively, even when you're put in situations where you're forced to use these tools. You didn't make any decision to. So that's it for text editors, and we'll see you in some further lessons down the line.